Welcome to the latest edition of Say What? I'm your host, Laura Thornquist, and here with me via Zoom is my co-host, Julie Williams. And as always, we are super glad to have you here with us today, Julie.
Good to be here. Nice to see you.
Today we are discussing electricity plans. And, there are tons of gimmicks, tricky ads, teaser rates, all those confusing terms. It's really no surprise that many Texans overpay for electricity year after year, and it's frustrating for us as Energy Ogre members and employees. So here at Energy Ogre, we understand how frustrating it can be to see kind of the forest through the trees. So it's our job to monitor those red flags regarding electricity plans that you see out there all over everywhere. So today, we're going to give you some insight on a few of those red flags. So Julie, why don't you talk about the first one?
All right, this is a big one, the moving trap. It is one of the most common. You're moving to a new home and your retail electricity provider tells you that when you move, you must transfer your contract. And this is absolutely not true. It is specified in your contract that it's limited to service for that customer at that location. So if you move from that location, a customer is under no obligation to continue that service at another location. You will probably have to provide some sort of evidence that you moved, a utility bill from your new location or a lease of some proof that you moved, and you will have to provide them with your forwarding address so they can send you that final bill, of course, as well. And we've put down in the comments, all of the information is available in the Public Utility Commission of Texas administrative rule book, and the link is included just if you wanted to check it out and keep that handy for you.
Right. It's really good advice, and it is frustrating. I mean, a lot of people get told that. It's like, no, that's not true. So be very wary of that. Also, if you get a phone call from an electricity provider retention team member, be very cautious. And we say this for a couple of reasons. Let's say, for example, you're enrolled in an expensive plan and you find a lower rate and you decide to switch providers. Well, usually within 24 to 48 hours, you can expect to receive a phone call from your old provider offering incentives, low rates, tech gadgets. They're offering to pay cancellation fees, just pretty much anything to make you to agree to switching back to them. So, make sure if they are promising you the moon and the stars that you get it in writing so that he does bring you the moon and the stars, right? This will actually ensure you that the retention team member has the authority to offer these incentives and that the REP will honor that deal.
Sure. And you always got to think twice too, when they're willing to give you so much stuff, you got to wonder, I must be worth a lot to them. I want to lose my contract, and it's not because they love you.
Yes.
All right. So this next red flag has plagued Texans since the beginning of deregulation. Hidden fees. Payment surcharges, unexpected changes in a fixed rate, customer service fees, and so many things all add up, making a monthly bill much higher than you anticipated. So ensure that you know what your effective rate is before you enroll in any new plan. Now, the effective rate includes the energy charge as well as TDSP costs. Right. And that you got to take both halves of the bill, not half, but both portions of the bill to get a full picture of your charges, and not just that retail energy charge, the provider charge, which is what you will often see advertised or quoted, but you need both parts.
And that's the key. You see those advertised and quoted, and somebody will say, "Yeah, I'm paying 4 cents per kilowatt hour." No, not totally. So you need to make sure that you know exactly what you are paying, so that you aren't taken from that. And it's hard to read those bills. Let's face it.
Totally, they're very confusing, especially because there are so many portions of the TDSP part. So depending on how they lay that out for you, also many, I won't say most, depending on how much electricity you use, that's going to change. There's like a fixed rate portion on a lot of these bills that, if you use 2,000 kilowatt hours, that fixed rate is going to be worth less per kilowatt hour, or cost you less, but it's the same $10 or what have you. It's hard to break it all down, and it's confusing. You can do it, but it's just make sure you're getting all the parts of it.
You got it. Something else you want to be aware of is fluctuating rate pans. You can watch. Fluctuating rate pans. Look at them. The plans, for example, variable and flex rate plans. You can often get into these types of plans if you don't choose to go with a fixed rate. So many plans, such as like the prepaid programs, they operate on variable rates, meaning you're going to pay more or less per kilowatt hour, depending on factors like individual use and market trends. So understand the rate you signed up before you've locked in. Of course, here at Energy Ogre, we do not enroll our members in variable rate plans, as they are unpredictable and rate spikes can be very, very costly.
Oh, yeah. We definitely don't want that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing to avoid are block rate programs. So these are tiered plans that are scheduled. They have a schedule of prices for electricity where the price per kilowatt hour changes at different levels of consumption. So for example, the first 500 kilowatt hours of use per month are charged at one rate. And then, you all use over 500, all use over 500 kilowatt hours is then charged at another rate. So buyer beware with these plans, because it can cause a lot of frustration for customers that may end up paying more than what they expected, especially if you don't go much over one of those blocks.
Right.
And you're like,
501 kilowatt hours, right?
Yeah, exactly. And you think you're within a certain range, but turns out you're not. And also, oftentimes these plans are going to be advertised with the very lowest of the rates. So you may think, this is good, but you're really in the higher end of their tiers, if you will.
Right. Good stuff. All right. Another potential pitfall to be wary of is the wording used in the contract agreements. So make sure that you clearly understand every single detail of the provider's contract before you commit to a plan. Now, it takes time to read and understand, and that's why a lot of people come to us, because we do that all for you. But you're going to want to try to avoid agreeing to contracts over the phone or verbally with a field agent. You want to read it. You want it in your hands. Everything from TDSP charges to time of use penalties are all included in the very fine print. So you don't want to miss it.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Now, you do not always have to pay an early termination fee when you decide to switch providers. This is important to know. So according to that PUC2 rulebook, again, in the description, a customer has 14 days prior to their contract end date to switch to a new provider without paying that fee or suffering any penalty. So this can get a little bit tricky though, because providers in Texas are required to notify you 30 days before your contract expires. So that leaves you a very small window to shop for a new provider and switch before falling out of contract. So the fee can be avoided provided you receive that notification and enroll in a new plan in time. So there are a couple of gotchas to be wary of when it comes to contract end dates and termination fees as well. So you should always be able to get that information from your provider if you want to call and check. Oftentimes it's on the bill. But you want to keep track of those dates. That's one of the hassles of shopping for sure, but it's important.
And one of those gotchas is confusing contract end dates. So many electricity customers, they have a really hard time discerning when the contract actually expires. For example, you roll in, let's say, a 6-month plan on March 1st, and then you expect your contract end date to be what? September 1st, 6 months later, right? Well, many times that really isn't the case. So luckily, most providers place the actual contract end date somewhere in the bill, the monthly bill that you receive. So if you don't see your contract end date, we recommend you contacting the provider to confirm and know for sure.
Yeah. Get that information. It's important. It can also be confusing to receive notices from your provider to renew not long after you've just enrolled in a plan. So according to the Public Utility Commission, electricity providers should send you a written notice of contract expiration at least 30 days or one billing cycle prior to the date of your contract expiration, but no more than 60 days or 2 billing cycles in advance of that expiration date for residential consumers. But in our experience, some providers send out these renewal notices 60, sometimes 90 days in advance. In the hopes to bait you into renewing earlier than you really need to. So that eliminates your option for choosing another provider for a better price and a better, a plan for you. So it's a trick you don't want to get trapped in for sure.
It's interesting, Julie, too, that I didn't realize, and a lot of people, and I maybe I didn't know it either, but you don't have to stay in the contract the full length of the contract. But people are of the misnomer, I'm in this contract, I have to stick it out. You don't. You have to pay to get out of the contract oftentimes, but especially with us, if we're doing the shopping for you, oftentimes the savings make up for the cost of the ETF. But just, we want to make sure that that you can get out of a contract, an electricity contract.
100%. And for some contracts, the ETFs are not that bad, shocking. Right. But especially if you signed a really long contract, which sometimes the rates seem so amazing. Why wouldn't you want to lock it in forever? If you're in a 2-year or, you've got, God forbid, more than that, then it is probably going to be better just to pay that fee and get out. Unless you really did get that 4-cent rate.
Doubt it, but no question. Good stuff. So these are just a few of the most common red flags to be aware of when shopping for electricity. Of course, it is our mission to ensure that our members never fall into these potential traps. We are a technology company, and we use analytics to actively monitor the thousands of offers on the market to find the right plan for each individual member based on how they use electricity. We are always searching for better options while actively maintaining your account with your retail electricity provider. And we're only paid by you, the member. Our sole priority is you. So we know the red flags regarding electricity plans, and we back our service with 100% guarantee. We want to help you. We are here for you.
Yes, for sure. And we want to know if you've experienced any of these traps, if you've gotten caught up in a bad plan from a provider, or you had a bad experience. Let us know in your comments, because we always enjoy hearing from you, and hopefully you've gotten out of that situation, but it's helpful reminders of where people have gotten tripped up in the past.
Education is key.
For sure.
All right. So as we say, as always, be cool, stay kind, and do great things.
It's the Ogre way.